Modern warfare is brutal. And what if India and Pakistan went to war? The loser would be obliterated from the map. But who would win? India or Pakistan? Let's find out. The Indian military has 1.5 million active soldiers, 512,000 of which are in the army. They have 74 tanks, 692 fighter jets, 155 artillery systems, and 451 combat ships. Their GDP is around 3.2 trillion US dollars with a military expenditure of 76 billion US dollars per year. Pakistan's military is smaller with just over 600,000 active soldiers. They also have less hardware, 280 tanks, 324 fighter jets, 170 artillery systems, and 230 combat ships. Their GDP is 355 billion US dollars with a yearly military expenditure of 1.1 billion US dollars. Even though Pakistan has a smaller military, they might have the edge over India in one area: nuclear weapons. India has 160 nuclear warheads, while Pakistan has 300. But let's not count them out just yet. The Indian Air Force recently conducted a live fire exercise where an Su-30 MKI fighter jet fired a BrahMos missile at a high-altitude mountainous target. This is significant because it demonstrated India's ability to strike high-value targets deep within enemy territory, something that Pakistan would struggle to do given the mountainous terrain and dense air defenses. During the initial stages of a conflict, both sides would use their air forces to gain superiority. India has a larger and more capable air force, but Pakistan has a technological advantage with the purchase of advanced JF-17 fighter jets from China. These fighter jets were designed to operate from high-altitude airfields, giving Pakistan a potential advantage in the early stages of a conflict. However, India's recent development of the indigenous Tejas Mark 1A light combat aircraft could offset this advantage. The Mark 1A is a fourth-generation multi-role fighter designed for high-altitude combat. It has advanced avionics, including active electronically scanned array radar, beyond visual-range missiles, and the capability to carry anti-ship missiles. The Mark 1A is expected to be a game-changer in high-altitude warfare, potentially giving India the edge over Pakistan in the long run. In terms of ground forces, both countries have a large number of troops. India has 1.5 million active soldiers, while Pakistan has 640,000. However, the quality of training and equipment varies. India's army is better trained and equipped, with a significant portion of its troops being involved in UN peacekeeping missions. Additionally, India's artillery forces are more numerous and capable than Pakistan's. In terms of logistics, India has a larger economy and industrial base, which means it can sustain its military operations for a longer period. Pakistan relies heavily on foreign aid, which may not be forthcoming during a conflict. Furthermore, India's geographic location gives it an advantage over Pakistan. India is surrounded by water on three sides, which makes it easier to defend. Pakistan, on the other hand, has porous borders with Afghanistan and Iran, which could allow enemy forces to enter the country. Now we have to consider strategy and alliances. India's strategy is focused on achieving regional dominance through diplomacy and military power. India has good relations with the United States, which provides military and economic assistance. India also has strong ties with Russia, which is a major arms supplier. Pakistan's strategy is based on deterrence and defense. They rely on their nuclear arsenal to prevent India from attacking them. Pakistan also has close ties with China, which has provided them with military support and infrastructure projects. It is important to note that both India and Pakistan have a history of cross-border conflicts. There have been multiple wars between the two countries over the disputed territory of Kashmir. Additionally, both countries support separatist movements in each other's territory, which adds to the tension. Furthermore, there is a lot of religious differences between India and Pakistan. 80% of Indians are Hindu, while 97% of Pakistanis are Muslim. This could lead to religious extremism and violence. Pakistan has traditionally relied on the threat of nuclear war to deter India from military action. However, this policy may no longer be effective as India has developed a credible nuclear triad. India's nuclear arsenal is primarily land-based, but they have also developed nuclear-capable ballistic missiles and the technology to launch them from submarines. This means that India can now strike Pakistan's nuclear sites with impunity, negating Pakistan's nuclear advantage. Additionally, India's recent military exercises with the United States and other countries demonstrate a growing confidence in its military capabilities. These exercises involve complex maneuvers and live fire drills, showcasing India's preparedness for a wide range of scenarios. Moreover, India's focus on indigenization of military hardware has paid off in recent years. They have successfully developed and deployed a variety of advanced military systems such as the Tejas fighter jet, the Akash missile system, and the advanced towed artillery gun. These advancements have not only reduced India's dependence on foreign weapons, but also enhanced its military capabilities. If these two countries ever went to war, it would look like this. Within hours of a potential attack, India would activate its nuclear triad, launching a preemptive strike on Pakistan's nuclear facilities. This would neutralize Pakistan's nuclear threat and prevent any possibility of a nuclear exchange. Simultaneously, India's conventional forces would launch a multi-pronged attack on Pakistan's key strategic assets. This would include targeting Air Force bases, naval ports, and military command centers. The goal would be to cripple Pakistan's military infrastructure and create conditions for a swift victory. As the war progresses, India would deploy its ground forces into Pakistan to secure key strategic points such as major cities and vital infrastructure. These forces would be supported by India's superior air power, which would dominate Pakistani airspace. The Indian Air Force would utilize its advanced fighter jets and a wide range of combat aircraft to conduct airstrikes and provide close air support to ground forces. Additionally, India's Navy would play a crucial role in blockading Pakistani coastal areas, preventing any maritime resupply or reinforcement. On the other hand, Pakistan's military would put up a fierce resistance, utilizing its well-trained special forces and irregular militias to launch guerrilla attacks against Indian forces. Despite facing a technologically superior enemy, Pakistan's forces would exploit every available advantage, including the mountainous terrain to launch hit-and-run missions. However, their efforts would be hampered by the lack of heavy weaponry and ammunition, making it difficult to sustain prolonged engagements. As the war drags on, it becomes clear that Pakistan's military cannot match the firepower and resources of the Indian armed forces. With minimal outside support, Pakistan's chances of winning the war are slim. Eventually, India's superior ground forces would advance through Pakistan's loosely defended borders, leading to the collapse of Pakistan's military. The war ends with a decisive victory for India, resulting in the fragmentation of Pakistan into smaller states. The new borders are drawn along ethnic and religious lines, leading to the creation of several independent states in what was formerly Pakistan. India wins control of Kashmir and Aksai Chin, settling the long-standing territorial disputes once and for all. The war leads to the emergence of a new security order in South Asia, with India emerging as the dominant power. The war also has significant global implications. Pakistan's defeat leads to the dismantling of its nuclear weapons program with international supervision. India emerges as a major player on the global stage and strengthens its ties with Russia, China, and the United States. The war results in the loss of millions of lives and massive destruction of property, causing immense suffering to the people of South Asia. The war leads to a refugee crisis with millions of people fleeing their homes and seeking refuge in neighboring countries. So, who would actually win a war between India and Pakistan? If these two countries ever went to war, it would be devastating for both sides. But in the end, India would most likely win. India has a larger and more powerful military than Pakistan, Plus, India has the backing of the United States while Pakistan does not. Pakistan does have nuclear weapons, but India has a plan to deal with them. India has developed a robust missile defense system that can intercept incoming missiles. Plus, India has the world's largest stockpile of anti-tank missiles. These missiles can be launched from a safe distance, meaning that India can take out Pakistan's tanks before they get close enough to fire. So, even though Pakistan has nuclear weapons, it's unlikely that they would be able to use them effectively against India. Ultimately, India would most likely prevail in a war against Pakistan. But hopefully, it never comes to that. War is never the answer, and there are always better options like diplomacy or peaceful negotiations. Hopefully, India and Pakistan can resolve their differences without resorting to violence. They have a lot of common ground and a lot to gain from working together. So let's hope they can find a way to coexist peacefully. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another exciting episode. Thanks for watching.